the Discord mainly, I guess. Oh, where's Discord?
It's gone.
It's
the Lana Del Rey fan club.
Yeah, yeah.
Just... Some people took that a bit too serious. Like, I guess they didn't understand it was the joke. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
that was a good April Fool's, though.
You have to. You have to. It's April Fool's. Like, you can't trust no one.
That's true.
Trust no one.
No, I seen an article where this pizza place restaurant was giving out free pizza, but it was an April Fool's thing, and I was like, no, they took a...
Why?
Like, the one
Why'd
thing...
you have to bring pizza into it?
Yeah, the one thing that got me. I was like, no. Alright. It says 0 people are watching for me.
No.
But there's like yeah, but there's like 10 people in the comments, so I don't know what's going on.
It's just yo, listen, YouTube today has been a hot mess.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw, but I couldn't get to my page for 10 minutes. Philip DeFranco just like said he could get to his page for 15 minutes.
Podcast is now up.
It's been a show.
Yikes.
Yeah. There we go. I see it. 27 people watching.
Ah, there we go.
King Burgerson.
Oh, I need to turn this down.
Alright.
There you go.
Now to share on Le Twitter. Actually, Daniel, if you post something on Twitter, I'll just retweet it.
I'll post it.
Sounds good.
I'll do the postings.
Yeah.
Oops, I made a typo. I meant to put that we are live, and I put we are alive.
Well, I mean, that's not
we are alive.
Yeah.
That's not my point, though.
There, I did a Facebook 1, 2, Twitter.
So how was everybody's weekend?
My dog destroyed a baby bunny.
What?
Oh no!
And I just had to take the other 5 to the wildlife center today. After 3 days of monitoring the babies, my dog found a nest and finally thought that the mom wasn't coming back today. So, yeah. I spent my weekend monitoring baby bunnies and making sure they were okay, and just devastated all weekend because my dog is a savage and killed a bunny. And there's bunnies everywhere. It's like the worst thing.
Alright, I think we are ready to begin. If everyone...
Come join us.
Alright, Daniel, Holly, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
So we'll do the intro, and then we'll go into the games that we're excited about or playing, and all of that fun stuff. Alright, so...
Alright.
What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as you all may know me. Here with me, as always, is Daniel, also known as King Burgerson.
Hello, friends!
Yes, and returning for the 1000th time is Miss Holly Wolf.
Oh, you always say my name. So funny. Wolf?
Wolf?
Holly Wolf?
Wolf?
Wolf.
Wolf.
I think it's Wolf.
It's the accent. It's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not his fault, Holly.
Yeah. Well, like whenever when my little brother is on, she also like does the thing with him where he's like Jesse.
Yeah, your brother is great. That's the voice. So great. So cute.
Alright, so today we are going to be discussing a few different pieces of news, as always, on the Hylians Gamescast. We're going to be talking about the Final Fantasy 15 director's new studio. We're going to be discussing our thoughts on the possible Zelda movie or TV show. We're going to be talking about the top 5 biggest lies or pranks from Nintendo to go along with the April Fools. I almost said Easter, but no, it does not go with Easter. It goes with April Fools. And we will finish with some questions from the fans watching. So if you have any questions that you would like us to answer, put them in the comments below. Find us on Twitter, or head over to patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can have your question be a priority and have it guaranteed to be answered on the podcast, along with some other cool prizes. Just like Megan Neal, Casey Willis, Rusty Caulfield, Link Use the Triforce, Tight Lipped Gaming, Robbie Morgan, Shadow to Us, Lovable Christie, Daniel's favorite, Key of Time 15, Lunarium, Michelle, Ashley, Monica, Justin, Gus, and the One have. So, to start us off, and I don't think we've ever done this before, but what games have you guys been playing recently, and what games are you excited for? For me, God of War for the PlayStation 4 comes out on the 20th, and I am really excited for that game. So, What about you guys?
Myself, my fiance, and his son Raiden, we just finished Mario Rabbids this weekend.
Ooh,
so, yeah, oh my goodness, it is so good and so crazy and so strategic. It's ridiculous. So now we have all the extra levels, so we're going to start those really soon. So It's a good game, yeah. I don't know what I'm excited for. I'm excited for lots of things.
Yeah.
I'm excited to go to E3.
That cardboard from Nintendo Labo.
Yo, listen. Yes.
E3 is going to be awesome this year.
Hey.
Yeah, Daniel, myself, Kayla, and Rick, who some people know as RMFH, we all got an Airbnb together. So hopefully it's E3 is going to be a blast.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
good.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
What games have you been playing recently, Daniel?
Well, I recently restarted playing through Master Mode on Breath of the Wild because I hadn't done that before. So
so you're just
nearly
torturing yourself.
Oh, it's just I love a challenge. I'm like as has been noted previously on the podcast, I'm like a gaming masochist. I love to be punished. I also been playing Wind Waker HD because I love that game a lot. It's just it's like the first time playing Wind Waker since Wind Waker HD was released, basically. So it's been a bit, and it's kind of a trip back. Lots of nostalgia there, and I've been playing a lot of Rocket League on Switch as well because it's just stupid fun. It's just the most ridiculous concept for a game, but it's just so much stupid fun, and I love it. Excited, I would say, for Smash because it's going to be playable at E3.
Yes.
So
they're even they're doing that tournament.
Yeah, so
crazy.
I'm not superb at Smash. I did play like competitively online on the like For Glory mode quite a lot, where they don't mess around. But you know, I would typically be second place, so not the worst person there, but I wasn't always winning. So I probably won't win any tournaments at E3, but I love that game. I love Smash. I'm just really psyched to try it out. So
yeah. It's interesting how Nintendo's been using E3 for like special events. They had the Nintendo World Championships return the one year. This year they're having Smash Brothers. Almost forgot. So it's interesting they're having these tournament things at E3 to help promote the game. But at the same time, unless it's really close to the way that the Wii U and 3DS version plays, I imagine like someone going in there and like playing with Link, but he doesn't jump quite like he did in the Wii U version, or he doesn't move quite as fast. So like the minor changes, I wonder if that's going to make someone who would be really great at Smash Brothers on the Wii U end up being like an average player on the Switch. Because we don't know if it's going to be like a brand new game or if it's just like a port with extra features. So
we'll see.
I have a feeling it'll be a lot of just like reworked assets, probably running on a similar or the same engine, but there is likely to be a lot of differences as well because, well, we already know that Breath of the Wild Link will be in it, and I can't imagine them moving him in it and just having it as a reskin of Link. Like, he would have to have different moves because Breath of the Wild is too different from the other Zelda games.
Yeah.
Especially with the champion abilities. Like the champion abilities almost seem like they were designed with Smash Brothers in mind because the jump spin attack Link does in Smash Brothers, it would be similar to like Rivali's Gel, and then his shield could be like Daruk's protection.
Yeah.
So like there's all these different things that would fit so well with the Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I would get them past it. I'm sure they collectively think of all this stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, their E3 for Nintendo the last 2 years has been like they've been the hottest thing at E3. Last year was Mario, and then the year before that was Zelda, and it was like the best booth always.
Yeah.
Nintendo's just been like slaying it at E3. Everything else is like, oh, this is cool. Oh, PlayStation, that's cool. Xbox, you're cool. But like Nintendo, it's just like so much better. They're so smart. Like E3 for them the last 2 years has been like, yeah, no one else can compete. So I have very high hopes that Smash at E3 this year, they're just gonna do something crazy, and it's gonna be so good.
Yeah, the really cool thing is, like you mentioned, a couple of years ago it was all about Breath of the Wild. Last year it was all about Mario. This year, instead of one big game coming out, there's like 3 that are on people's minds. There's the Pokemon game, there is Metroid, and there's Smash Brothers. They could do either of them because Pokemon is such a big franchise that they could have a Pokemon-themed E3 and nobody would complain because it's one of the biggest money makers for Nintendo. And
I'd complain.
And then they could have Metroid Prime because that's the game that all the hardcore Nintendo fans are looking for. And then
give me Metroid.
But an easy way to kind of cheat would be if it was all Smash Brothers themed, because then you could
It will. I think it totally will. That's the thing. Like, it was all Zelda themed, but there were other games in the areas you can play. But the 80% was all Zelda. Yeah. The whole theme was Zelda, but they had the other titles. Same with like Odyssey. It was all Odyssey themed. New York, New Donk City, everything. And then here are other titles. Yay! But it was like the world was Odyssey. So I feel like the world is just going to be Smash.
Yeah.
Everything to do with Smash, and they can incorporate the other titles, maybe a little, even more than they have with Zelda and Mario, because everything overlaps. So one side could be like, all Metroid. One side could be all Pokemon, and then I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, like it's a good way to, like, they have the Pokemon theme stuff. They could have the Metroid theme stuff. They could bring back some of the Mario and Zelda stuff that they had from the last ones. And it's a good way to include everything while still trying to promote a single Smash Brothers game. So it's like a cop-out in a way, I guess.
No, it's just very smart marketing, all right?
Yeah. Marketing.
Listen, Jesse.
Yeah. All right. So, are there any other games, like, outside of Nintendo that you're looking forward to, Daniel?
Yeah, I don't know. I've got such a one-track mind lately with, like, my poor other consoles have been just collecting dust, because it's just like, every time I'm interested in a game, like every PS4 game I've been thinking about getting has ended up moving over to Switch as well. So it's just like, I don't know, like, I'm excited for Crash, but like I could have got it on PS4, but then I'm like, well, it's coming to Switch, I'll just get it on Switch. I don't know. So outside of Nintendo, I don't know.
Not too much.
I'm a fanboy, so
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we can move on to our first topic, which is, Daniel, Holly, would either of you be excited for a Zelda movie or TV show?
Yes, but make it a Netflix series.
Ooh.
Like, not just a movie.
All right.
You need time to, like, flesh it out,
I
like-
would. I don't want it. I would never want it to be live action.
No, I
So-
think an animated one would be better.
I would need it to be animated. Like, there's so much. So this is why I love anime so much in general, because there's just so much more emotion displayed half the time, which is crazy because it's all animated. But I feel like there's more emotion. There's more cool things you can do without relying on like heavy CG or whatever, which can really destroy some things, to be honest. And I don't know. Zelda for me would be really, really picky. Like that Majora's Mask short with Skull Kid was like absolutely gorgeous. Even if it's like that, I wouldn't mind. I don't want real people. I don't want an actor or an actress assigned like face. Voice actors cool. I don't know. I'm like, maybe I'm just being a weirdo, but I don't think I could deal with like an actor being Link.
All right. Well, I bring this up because I mentioned previously there are a lot of rumors and stuff going around about if the Mario movie that Nintendo is producing, because there was rumors of a Mario movie a while back, and then it was confirmed that Nintendo was working on a Mario movie. But even before that, there were the rumors of a Netflix TV show for Zelda that would be like the PG or PG-13 version of Game of Thrones. So like it would be like that's the way the story would be plotted out. I don't exactly know what they meant by that, but that was the rumor that everybody was reporting on. That hasn't happened yet, but then the Mario rumor turned out to be true. And now the rumors say that if the Mario movie is a success, then obviously they're going to be producing a sequel to the Mario movie, as well as exploring other franchises to make movies from. So either Metroid or Donkey Kong or Zelda or whatever, which there's been Donkey Kong and Zelda cartoons and stuff before. And even on Netflix, the Castlevania anime that they made was a success for them. So I think if they did even a Metroid style anime in that style that they did the Castlevania, I think that would be really good. But we're just focusing on the Zelda right now. So Holly, you want an animated Zelda. Would you want it to be like spread out over a TV show or a dedicated like 2-hour movie?
I don't know. I would probably want a series.
Yeah.
I don't want things being rushed, you know. So there's a lot they could do within like Zelda world as a series. So it's like it's very hard to imagine like what they would pick. What would they focus on? Yeah,
like which game would it be based off of, or would it be a completely new story?
Yeah.
That's what I want, because if you try and adapt one of the games, it's gonna fall apart. Like it can't. The games are not adaptable to movies. You have to have it as a separate story in the Zelda canon, but not one of the games. Like if you remake Ocarina of Time as a movie, it's gonna be rushed and it's just gonna fall apart. It's not gonna work. Yeah. Or people are gonna be like, this is not how I imagined it, or how I interpreted this part, and you know, I don't think it would work. But if you build a new sort of entry into the franchise, then they can actually structure it around a movie's pace or a series. I'd rather a series as well. And I think it would just work a lot better. Yeah. And I agree that a series would be better, because my big thing, if we remember like the Last Airbender, right? The series was really good because they had like 20 hours per season, like to flesh out these characters and pace it out. Once they translated that to a movie, they tried to take those 20 hours and put it into an hour and a half. And it was terrible. It fell apart. The movie was bad for a number of reasons.
Right,
but
keep
that
talking, Daniel. I will be back in like 2 seconds.
I can talk as long as you want me to.
Well, they did that. They just did that with I watched the first installment of the Full Metal Alchemist movie.
Okay.
Same thing.
Yeah.
There's so much involved, and to put it into like a 2-hour movie, it was a lot. It was very rushed.
Okay.
They cut so much stuff. So yay, that was very short.
There were people outside, and I had to close the window. No, I just shut the window.
People?
No.
Heard sirens.
Get off my lawn.
Damn kids! I've told you kids to stay off of my property.
So there are two things that I want to get to with this Zelda anime, because you would want the anime as well, Daniel.
I
anime
think so.
style,
or like either anime style or like I don't know,
just
like
animated,
maybe even 3D animated. Yeah, like I'm flexible with the animation style. I think if they had an art style similar to maybe Breath of the Wild, would be really cool. But they could do a cartoon like Wind Waker cartoon. You know,
they said the art style for Breath of the Wild was already sort of based off like the Studio Ghibli stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there are already studios making anime that's in the Breath of the Wild style. So if they just got them to do it, that would be.
Yeah. But if they're gonna do this, they gotta let Link talk, because him as a silent protagonist works great in the games, because you know dialogue boxes, it's like up to your interpretation what he said or whatnot. But you know, I can't imagine watching a series and having a silent protagonist.
I don't know. It'd be pretty funny. It'd be pretty interesting. You see, they could convey all that emotion through a non-talking character. I don't know. Pretty cool.
I don't know. That'd be tricky. I feel like there'd be a lot of awkward moments.
Well, he could do something to where if he does have a partner with him, like Navi or Midna or a talking dragon boat, like in Wind Waker, they could do something to where Link does talk, but only when it's absolutely necessary.
I could see him being like the strong and silent type who doesn't talk much. You know, that I think that would be cool. But he has to at least be like they have to have it in there, so like at least a bit. Yeah, I don't know.
So Gibbs just donated $5 and says, if you guys want your questions answered immediately, all you need to do is donate $2. And if you donate more, then Daniel will dance for you.
Before I even read that.
Yes. Thank you, Gibbs, but you don't need to donate.
You don't need to promote
just
it, but I will still dance.
Tell other people. Yes. If we get a $10 donation, all three of us will do a little dance. Maybe.
All right, fine.
If Holly and Daniel's up to it. Yeah, but... yeah, so that was one of the two things that I was wanting to ask, is like what if they do, because we've all decided on the anime art style, which is personally what I would like to see, because they could make Link look exactly the way that Link looks, whereas if they get an actual actor, then it's like some people might like the way he looks, like they might find someone who actually does look like Link, but then if he talks, maybe it's like, that's not how I imagine Link
It's just
sounding.
hard. It's just hard. It's a very easy way to not please a lot of people.
Yeah, and then they could have, like, if they just went by someone who acted really well and performed really well, but he just didn't have the look that you expect from Link.
Yeah.
Or it could be the other way, to where they look like Link, they're just not that good at acting. So it's like, you have to have the compromises, because I doubt you're going to find a really good actor who happens to look enough like Link to where it satisfies everyone. And then to do a proper Zelda story, you would also have to have an adult and a young Link. Like, maybe not in the way that Ocarina of Time did it, but to sort of have flashbacks, because Link's parents have always been like out of the picture, except Wind Waker when you had his grandparents or his grandmother. So I think it would be necessary to have it based on like a teenage Link, but then after a few episodes, like have a 5-10 minute flashback to when Link was a young kid or something.
Jesse needs to go, "Dear Nintendo, I hear you are creating a series. Let me give you some advice."
Well, that's just what I would like, because it would show like how did he like train to become a swordsman, like all that, like, because he just like gets pushed out on these adventures and he's already a master at combat and everything. And Skyward Sword kind of had a way to explain it, because they go to a school for knights, So then it's like, okay, it makes sense. He knows how to beat these
Yeah.
enemies. But with Ocarina of Time, it's like, grab this stick and hit these plants. Like,
Killer plants.
yeah, like the Deku Babas that just pop up everywhere. But I don't know, it's a game. I think, yeah, it's just odd.
Yeah.
But what art style would you guys like? Because for me, if you've ever seen the Final Fantasy 15 movie they did, where it's
I
like
just rewatched it.
it's like a super detailed, hyper realistic looking anime. But I think that would be way too expensive to have an entire series based off of that. So I would maybe go with something more of an anime instead of CGI.
Yeah.
I like the Studio Ghibli stuff. Ghibli, however you pronounce it. But what about you two? What anime art style would you prefer? Like something CG and super detailed, something looking like the cutscenes in Breath of the Wild or Hyrule Warriors, or like an actual anime style like Dragon Ball Z or Yu Yu Hakusho, to where it's all hand drawn.
I like Ufotable as a animation studios. They did the original, not the original, they did the revamped Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, if anyone here likes anime. So Ufotable puts out really, really good, classically drawn anime type styles. So
this does look really good. I just
so,
typed it in.
Yeah, so that production company who did Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works would be like my top for like an animation studios to put out something classically drawn. So I'd be down with that.
All right.
Yeah.
What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I think like with the mangas, you know, they had that very classic anime look for the most part, and I think that would carry over very well to an anime as well. Like to have it as an animated series like that. I just think that it would, like, we've seen it in the mangas that drawing style fits the Zelda franchise pretty well. So yeah, let's see. I like more of that. I had never seen Fate Stay Nights until I just Googled it just now, but yeah, that looks pretty good. So
and Fate Stay Night Unlimited has some extremely well thought out, detailed fight scenes. In the world of anime, it's pretty up there for animation, and the fighting styles and scenes are like so good. So it'd be pretty cool to have something like that. So yeah.
I it's very detailed. I don't know.
Yes.
I think it would fit really well. Yeah.
All right. The second big question that I have for you guys, since we've settled on the art style that we would all want, what type of story would you want this based on? Would it be like Child Link, Adult Link, a mix of the two? How would the dungeons play out? Like, would each episode be dedicated to its own dungeon, or would it be like 3 or 4 dungeons are just completed in like a collage or something, to where it just shows
no montages.
no montage.
Montages.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a Zelda fan.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, and that's how they did. Like it was really.
He goes through like
going
4
okay.
dungeons.
Yeah,
in, like,
and
2
then it's
minutes.
just like montage for the rest, and I'm like, no.
Yeah. Well, the Zelda Ocarina of Time manga, it doesn't follow the story of the game that well, and there's a lot of contradictions, like the one I always go to, because a lot of people like to use the manga, like they just look at a page and think that it's canon for the actual timeline or whatever. But in the manga, there's a part where Link first goes to Hyrule Castletown, and he pays like 70 rupees to buy a baby dragon who is Volvagia. And then whenever Link turns into an adult, because he's not there to raise the dragon turns evil.
Whoa.
Which we know in the game, the dragon died a long, long time ago and was resurrected. Like, nowhere in the game can you buy a pet dragon. So the manga has its own contradictions from the stories, but the way that the manga handles it, because it would be like 50 chapters long if it was an actual adaptation of it, because you go to each dungeon, but it like cuts out 3 or 4 of the dungeons and only gives you like the main ones. So like you get Jabu Jabu's belly and like all of the ones that you need for the 3 spiritual stones, but then like the Shadow Temple, I believe, is completely cut out, and then the main boss is Volvagia, and then the Spirit Temple, and then Ganon. So it cuts out like a bunch of the actual dungeons from the game, and I think that's what a TV show would have to do, to where it's not like Twilight Princess, to where here's 12 dungeons, you need to like go through all of these. It could be, but I think it would be more focused on like just gather these 3 things and go to these 3 dungeons, as opposed to here's 10 dungeons to go through, because like part of the dungeons, what makes them interesting is solving the puzzles on your own and feeling that accomplishment, and watching a TV show where Link is just standing there like, which way do I push this block?
This big ice block.
What order do I light these torches in? Like, I don't think that would be as interesting as trying to figure it out yourself. So there would have to be some clever way that they approach the dungeons. So that,
I think they'd probably, if they did something like that, like adapted a game, they probably have like one
dungeon,
just to kind of be like, yeah, guys, woo, dungeon, because like you said, that's relating that into like a movie or a TV show is really hard. So it's pointless. It's not how the layouts of shows go, basically, because there's no, unless there's something, character development or something like crazy happens, there's no point in having that in a TV show.
Yeah,
there's just no point. So
well, like a lot of the Zelda games, it begins with like, you need to collect these 3 items to get whatever. Like Ocarina of Time, you had to get the spiritual stones. A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds, I think you had to get the pendants or whatever they were.
Yeah.
And then Twilight Princess, you had to get
the tears, whatever.
Yeah.
A few shadows. Then there's the tears.
Yeah, the few shadows.
There's a lot. There's
a lot of stuff to collect.
Wind Waker, I believe you had to get the Goddess Pearls.
Yeah.
So like most of the Zelda games, it's like you need to get these 3 items, and then a big event happens. Usually that's when you get the Master Sword. So I could imagine it's like 3 dungeons, but they're not made out to be dungeons. It would just be like, in this episode, he goes and meets the Gorons, and the Gorons are like, hey, it's here, but it's protected by this huge Dodongo and this cave, so you have to go get it. And it would be more of him, like, going through it going through it and, like, beating enemies or, like, finding himself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Instead of solving puzzles and stuff. So
maybe something like the Hyrulean Civil War or something would make like a good movie.
Yeah.
Sure, it could be a Zelda, universe movie, but it doesn't necessarily have to follow Link as well.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, like something more substantial that has just an easier way of adapting it into a show or a movie. Because, something like a war within the Zelda universe would be pretty cool. And then it would, have a lot of cool fighting scenes and just
yeah. It would be cool if
Lord of the Rings type stuff going on.
Like if it switched between, like, here's what Link's doing on his adventure, and then here's what the King or Zelda's doing to actually protect Hyrule while he's out trying to fix the problem. So I think something like that would be interesting, because in the Zelda games you never really see the King, and if you do, he's dead or a boat.
Yeah.
So it's
dead or a boat.
I think
Link can be like Gandalf. He's like, oh crap, I need to ride my horse here and get this done, and then everyone else is just like fighting.
Yeah,
Gandalf's like
the way that Lord of the Rings handled the one mountain cave they went into. And then, I think that would be a cool way to handle a quick dungeon in the game, because literally was what a Zelda dungeon is. Like, you have to figure out how to get inside and then make your way through the dangers, and then at the end of it there is the big bad guy, the boss, which Gandalf ends up sacrificing himself and coming back as like a better white wizard or whatever.
White. Gandalf the White.
So I think something like that would be an interesting way to accomplish that. So good job bringing that up, Holly. I completely, like, that was not even in my mind until you mentioned Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, there's lots of cool things you could do. So yeah, there, like Ashley was mentioning, Hyrule Warriors type thing, you know? Yeah, gathering like this whole, a war basically.
Yeah.
Right.
And if it does have, like, I'd love to see him have some companion characters, like, similar to the champions in Breath of the Wild or something, you know, just to give him someone to have a dynamic with and to play off, and that would also help flesh him out as a character too. So
Fish.
because like the Zelda games, most of
Fish
it you have like,
time.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
sexy Zoras. But most of the time in Zelda games, like, it's Link alone or with one companion.
Yeah.
But that could be a bit boring in a
Exactly.
movie or a TV show. So if you have like a group of characters that travel with him, then there's a lot more potential, I think, for characterization.
I keep going back and thinking of the anime Yu Yu Hakusho, where it starts out as it's just him on his journey with like the high school bully or whatever, but then it quickly turns into like he fights one enemy who turns into a companion, and then he fights another enemy who turns into a companion. So it could be something like that, to where like the Goron, like whenever he goes to Death Mountain, he's like, the Gorons don't trust him, and he proves himself to them, or he proves himself to the Gorons, and then one of them is like, I'm going to help you on your adventure. So I think something like that would be interesting.
Yeah, my brain keeps going back to The Last Airbender, like the show, not the movie, the Avatar.
Yes.
And like that's sort of where like if they paced it that way, I don't know. You have a young Link and have him maybe grow up a bit during the show, because that was one of the things is like Aang at the beginning of Last Airbender, he's like a kid, you know, and he's very much a goofball. By the end of it, he's still a kid, but you know, a couple of years has probably gone by in this span, and he's like matured quite a lot. So it's a nice like arc for him. Love to see that too.
Yeah, how many episodes is Airbender? It's a lot.
It's a lot. I think it's like 4 seasons with like 20 episodes a season, something like that. Like it's a pretty long show.
Yeah, so it's I mean, it would do them if they were gonna do a like actual game, like a lengthy game of Link's adventures. It would have to be like 100 episode.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 3 seasons, not 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they had the Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
You didn't like it?
I never watched it actually. But,
no, I loved
it's not. I don't know, the whole technology thing, and I didn't like it. I'm just saying that right now. It was not my favorite.
All right.
Sorry.
So here's the final thing. What designs of the characters would you like them based off of? Like, would you want it to be like the brown-haired Link that's like more masculine from Twilight Princess, or would you want him to be like the nicer looking, friendlier Skyward Sword version, and then like Zelda, like in Skyward Sword, Zelda looks like the friendly girl next door, where in Twilight Princess she's like a serious princess, and then
matriarch.
And Breath of the Wild just has her like the teen angst type person who's just mad at everything.
I would like something a little darker, so I would go the route of like more so Twilight looking ish, just because like I don't know, I like dark things. I like Fate. I like ReZero. I'm watching Darling in the Franxx right now, and it's not dark looking, but it's just there's very serious tones in a lot of the animes that I watch. So I would like, you know, and I mean, let's be honest here. If you have got a whole world that's under siege, and you know Ganondorf is this big bad guy, like he needs to be a big bad guy. Like his forms are pretty intense. So I would like an art style that kind of reflects that, because it's a pretty crappy situation Hyrule's in most of the time when you're playing the games.
True.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I think Twilight Princess's art style, if we were to translate any of the Zelda art styles into an animated series, I think that Twilight Princess one would suit the tone the best. It's already like very anime, like the way the characters are designed. So yeah, yes. Plus, that's like my favorite design of like Link's tunic is Twilight Princess Link.
All right, final.
I don't like the baggy pants.
Final question on this: what or which voice actor? Like, what would you want Link's voice to sound like? Would you want it to be like the deeper voice if he did talk, a lighter voice?
That's a hard question, Jesse.
Like in the games,
we don't know.
Yeah, in the games he does have the voice actor that just yells and says "hey" and stuff like that. But it's usually like a higher pitched voice. Like he never sounds like some like huge, big, muscly guy with like a super deep voice. So
I always find that the original Japanese animes with subtitles, their screams, their emotion is a lot better than their English counterparts. So I would watch the series in Japanese over anything, especially for someone who screams as much as Link screams. I need a Japanese voice actor, because I find a lot of the times the English ones, when they're all like, it's a little,
quality. The quality of their screams. Are not as good.
So it's true. It's really true. So some animes are okay. You're like, you go to the English, you're like, because I rewatch a lot of things in English when I'm cosplaying, and I just need something to watch, but I've already seen it. So I go back and I'll watch things in English. And sometimes they're great. Sometimes voice actors are pretty good. And then other times you're like, oh no. Oh, hun, oh no. What happened to this anime?
Yeah.
As soon as they did the English.
I like, if you go on YouTube, there's like a few different versions of the like official English dubs. So like there was the American dub that's like the Funimation Dragon Ball Z stuff. But before that there was Canada had its version. And then there was some country in Europe that had its own English version.
Oh no!
And it's like all of you listen to all of the different stuff, and it's like some of them where they're supposed to be like in a serious conversation, it just sounds like they're literally just reading dialogue off of a page as opposed to actual voice acting. And in my head, I'm like, how does this get approved? Like,
yeah. Sometimes I feel that way sometimes with English voice actors. I'm like, oh, no.
There's no quality control.
Well, what happened here?
Yeah. All right, I guess, Daniel, would you like to take us to our second news story? That's actual news, not a rumor. The Final Fantasy 15.
Real news.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So the director, this news comes from Polygon.com, I guess I should start there. The director of Final Fantasy 15 is going to be heading up new Square Enix studio. So Square Enix has opened a new studio. The company announced in a new release that its latest development team is called Luminess Productions, with Hajime Tabata. Hajime. I can't speak the words. Anyways, he's the head of the studio. So Luminous Productions will not only have Tabata at the helm, but the director is bringing many of the people who worked on Final Fantasy 15 along with him. Together, Luminous Production team will work on developing new AAA titles and bringing innovative game and other entertainment content to a global audience. That's the gist of it.
Cool.
Yeah. It goes on to, there's a quote saying, "The next project I want to do is a completely new IP. I think it's going to be a very large-scale project based around everything we've learned and developed from Final Fantasy 15. So, at first, I was thinking he's starting his new studio with the Final Fantasy 15 people so he can work on Final Fantasy 16. But then, I read where
But-
it's a brand new IP. So
Yeah.
it seems like they're taking the style and type of game Final Fantasy 15 was, where it's like big open world action RPG style game, and creating something completely new. Hopefully, I would want it to be something similar to Monster Hunter World, to where in Final Fantasy 15, where it's you and 3 of your buddies, and you can switch back and forth between the characters. Imagine if you could just play online, and someone else could play as one of the other characters that's with you, as opposed to AI controlling it. I hope it's something like that. The Luminess Studios is named after a few years ago, whenever they were first showing off all of the next gen stuff for like what would be the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They showed off the Luminous engine, which they said they were going to use for like the next Final Fantasy game and all of the bigger games, and they showed off this really cool tech demo, but the tech demo never ended up being anything. But it was really visually impressive, and honestly, if they had it running on a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One, I wouldn't believe it, because it looked too
good to be true.
Yeah, it looked like it was too detailed and everything to actually be running on the hardware, which is the same thought I had whenever they showed off the Zelda Wii U tech demo. I was like, making one single room that looks this good, maybe the Wii U can do that, but the moment they try making an entire village or Hyrule field that's that detailed, I don't think the Wii U could handle it. Because even on Twilight Princess HD, which was a GameCube and Wii title, if you get close to a waterfall, it slows down to like 10 frames. And the Twilight Princess HD remake doesn't look nearly as good as the Zelda Wii U tech demo. So I was like, why are they showing off stuff that they know they won't be able to make? Which is kind of what the Final Fantasy 15 thing looked like. But now they have the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X, which are even more powerful. So who knows? I could be talking nonsense.
Yeah.
But what did
you
you?
deal with that?
Yeah. But what did you guys think of Final Fantasy 15? Did you play it at all, Holly?
Yeah, I beat the game.
Okay.
I've played. I've done so much of the game. I have not done the DLC stuff. And in this article that we were just reading, it says that they released the Royal Edition just launched on PS4, Xbox One, and Windows PC. So I might buy it. I really love Final Fantasy 15, and I've been meaning to play all the DLC stuff, and it would be actually really cool to play it on my PC, because my roommate has my PS4 ever since I got my Switch. We've just left it in his room. Wow, my Switch isn't even on correctly. My 5-year-old doesn't know how to put things back, apparently. Yeah, so I loved it. It was a very great game, but a lot of it, people felt it didn't feel like that complete. So they fixed some of the stuff within the chapters, apparently in the new DLC, and they've released more that I have not done. So I might just play through it. It was a great game. It was really awesome. I'm a big Final Fantasy nerd. Besides Zelda, Final Fantasy is like, Zelda's like this, and Final Fantasy's like right here. Like, they're extremely close.
Yeah.
10, 10-2, 7, 12 even I really loved. 13-2, not 13. 13-2 was amazing. So I'm a...
The time travel in 13-2
13-2
had me
was
so confused.
amazing and very confusing. A lot of people didn't play it because 13 was kind of a show.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on, and people were like, this is weird. But 13-2 I bought and played and beat it, and I'm obsessed with the storyline, and I thought it was great. So, yeah.
I loved 13 and 13-2. Like, when everyone started complaining about 13, I was like, why are they complaining? It was like, whenever I first seen, like, the big joke a long time ago was everybody was hating on Navi, which some people still do. But, like, I always played the game thinking that she wasn't annoying. Like, maybe after you played the game 5 or 6 times and you already knew what to do. But in my head, I was like, if you play the game and you don't know where to go, she pops up, she gives you a hint. It kind of makes sense. and it wasn't
Yeah.
annoying. Because she's designed for people whenever they first start playing the game. But anyways, I never thought that she was annoying. I thought she served her purpose. And then seeing everybody make fun of her, I was like, why are people doing that? It doesn't make sense. And then with Final Fantasy 13, I didn't think it was good as Final Fantasy 10, but I still thought it was a really good game.
Me
and
too,
when
yeah.
everybody was hating on it, I was like, what? Why the hate? I don't understand.
People just, it was very I think it was so linear that people were like, what happened here? So, but I mean, Lightning is easily one of the best looking characters. Like, her character design is brilliant. I love it.
Some
So good.
fashion company had her character model to model their real life clothes to sell.
Was it Chanel?
I don't remember. I remember seeing it and thinking it was like they're using video games to promote clothing lines.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I'm out of the job. Okay, thanks. Lightning has stolen my job.
Yeah.
But so Lightning's beautiful, and there's so much of that game that is beautiful. But yeah, a lot of people had problems with it. The music was great too. I remember the opening trailer where she's on the train and stuff. Oh my goodness, I watched that like religiously. So no, Final Fantasy is great. I love it. Even Spirits Within, even the movie that basically destroyed Square as a company, and then they had to become Square Enix.
I remember that.
That movie I loved. I thought it was great. I'm like, this is awesome, and it was basically the downfall of Square. It was so hated. So, yeah. And then I don't know.
Well, what about you, Daniel? What are your thoughts on the Final Fantasy series? I became a fan with Final Fantasy X because I was, up until that point, I was used to playing Nintendo 64. So I was used to like Ocarina of Time, Super Mario 64 graphics. And then my cousin was playing Final Fantasy X. And the opening cutscenes, I was like, this is a game?
Yeah, so beautiful, right? At the time,
games can look this good? I was like, it looks like real life. But now it just looks like a normal old video game. But yeah, that's
regular.
It's really not that bad, man. You just go watch that opening scene. Titus still looks pretty hot, man. Oh, whew.
Right. Well, Daniel,
I have a terrible confession to make.
Oh no!
You've never played?
7 is the only Final Fantasy game I've played, and I haven't even beaten it. I played it at a friend's house and when I was a kid. So that's it, folks. I'm just gonna bow out now.
No, there was. Did you guys see there was the official artwork for Smash Brothers that the artist for Final Fantasy drew Link and Cloud in the face-off to promote it.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see like
elementary school playground fights coming to fruition.
No, but it was really cool to see Link drawn in the style of like if the Final Fantasy team was to make a Zelda game.
I don't think I've seen that.
That's the artwork they would use. Yeah, like
it's a great piece of art.
Instead of Nintendo making the artwork, it was the Final Fantasy people making it, and it was like Cloud on one side, Link on the other, like they're about to have a face-off.
Okay.
And it's like,
I think I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. Honestly, that was like, I can't remember how old I was, but I was always the huge Zelda nerd, all through school. And then one of my good friends, he was really into Final Fantasy VII. So yeah, he let me play it a bit at his house and stuff. But yeah, that was like the big playground debate was like, who would win, Link or Cloud? Kind of.
Yeah, because they're both.
It was always a stalemate. It was, we could never land on a conclusion.
So, have you seen like Advent Children or anything? What? Oh no!
Don't hate me, everybody.
Oh
I haven't seen any of
no!
Advent Children.
I don't like first-person shooters. And when I was a kid, when I was younger, I would even get my brother to go Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah.
The
PS2
game. The Vincent spin-off. I made my brother play that game just so I could then watch all the cutscenes so I knew what happened.
It's an IRL Let's Play.
I did that with Ocarina of Time for the first time. I was terrified of that game. I was young. So my guy friends would come over and I'd sit there and watch and they'd play for me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the first time I went through that game, I was not playing it. I was like, sit down, you play this. I want to know what happens.
The
That's
spider.
what I did to my friends. Yeah. So
The spider house always scared me.
Oh, it terrified me. The well, everything. I was like, nope, not playing this. You can play it. I will sit in the corner. Thank you. I didn't. Yeah. So same with that Vincent game. I made my brother play it, so I knew what happened because everything within the Final Fantasy VII universe, I was like, I need to know. I need to know everything.
So are you
How
excited
dare you not know
for the
Advent
new remake?
Children?
I know of it.
I cried then too. I cried for that.
The Final Fantasy VII, the remake they're doing is interesting. And a lot of people are complaining because they're separating it into 3 parts or different parts or whatever. And my thought was it kind of makes sense because the original games were on 3 separate discs.
Yeah. What are you complaining about? They're doing the exact same thing. Like, stop.
It's like they're doing... And this way, instead of waiting like 5 or 6 years to get the full game, you get one every 2 years or whatever.
People are babies, man. The internet's full of babies. Video game babies. Gosh, just be happy. Stop.
Yeah, I remember there was an interview where it was the same director that we were talking about in the interview here about opening up his new studio. He was the director for Final Fantasy 15, obviously, and whenever they showed the trailer, it ended with his name as the director of Final Fantasy, the Final Fantasy VII HD remake. And later on, there was an interview with him where he said that was when he found out that he was directing the game. Like, he didn't know that he was working on it until that trailer happened, and then it was just Square Enix being like, "Hey, you're also going to direct this game."
The way.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
I'm hoping.
What a way to find out.
Yeah, I'm hoping this year at E3, the Final Fantasy VII remake will actually get an official release date.
That'd be nice. That'd be really nice. Yeah. They do a good job too on their booth always. So. Yeah, we'll see.
All right, and I think we can skip this Elder Scrolls news and go to the topics of discussion. Now, we can pick 2 or one of 2 here, or we can go with both of them. If you guys want. We can start with the top 5 biggest lies and pranks, since it is the day after April Fool's.
Yeah, very topical.
Yes, all right. So I will do another intro with this, and then we'll go into it.
Awesome.
All right. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as you all may know me. Here with me, as always, is Daniel, or King Bergerson.
Hello, friend.
Yes. And joining us once again is Holly Wolf.
Oh.
Holly Wolf.
Wolf. Hi.
I'm sorry, Jesse. We're gonna make fun of
how
your accent.
how am I don't understand how I'm saying it wrong this time.
Say it like WOOF.
Wolf?
Or or WUF.
Or WUF, yeah.
As opposed to wolf.
With that, you gotta hit that L.
Wolf. I was putting an L. Wolf.
No.
All right.
This is gonna be all of our trip, Jesse.
Holly
I'm
Wolf.
just gonna be making fun of
Holly, excuse me, is there a Holly Wolf here? Wolf?
Holly Wolf.
Wolf.
Holly Wolf?
All right. Well, today we are going to be discussing the top 5 biggest lies or pranks from Nintendo, since it is the day after April Fool's. I thought it was going to be an interesting topic. These weren't really pranks from Nintendo, but they turned out to be pretty big pranks. I don't want to outright... Yes, I don't want to call them lies from Nintendo, but they basically were. First
we
up...
were deceived!
Yes. Trickery from Nintendo. Starting off our list was Miyamoto telling us that the Nintendo 3DS would receive no new redesigns, and it was perfect the way it was. This was an interview. We've spoken about this a few times, but not like directly like we are now, but it was essentially after the DS released with like 5 or 6 different models. There's the DS, DSi, DSi XL, DS Lite, whatever other versions they had. And then they released the 3DS. And there was the reporter who had common sense and was like, well, Miyamoto, what do you have to say for the people who are waiting for the next version of the 3DS to buy one? I think he called it, the 3DS XL because the DS had the DS XL. And Miyamoto said that the 3DS, the way it was essentially perfect and needed no revisions. And then, like a month or two later, they announced the 3DS XL. So it's like he straight up lied to this reporter, knowing they were working on different versions. And you can't really get mad at Miyamoto for it, because when you work at the company, you can't reveal stuff until it's time to be announced. So it's not like he's a bad guy for lying to us. It's just, part of the contract and agreement. Like, you can't announce something before it's officially announced, or you get fined, get in a lot of trouble, lose your job, stuff like that. So it was essentially something like that, where he was asked about it, but he didn't have permission to reveal it. But I always think about it, and it makes me, like, every time Nintendo announces something now, it makes me wonder, like, is this like a marketing tactic, or are they being serious? So that's something that I always go to. But next up, Holly, you pick something from the list. There are 4 more.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'm just going to pick the next one because I love it. And I was sad with the delays. Breath of the Wild. Countless delays. It will be released here. No, it won't. It will be released here.
Are you sure this will be released in 2015?
Are you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All of our team is working very hard.
We're almost done. We're so close.
There was
look at this cool game we got. Look at this horse running.
Yeah.
Yay.
Oh.
It was that original interview with Miyamoto and Aonuma, where they're like sitting on the couch, and Miyamoto says,
knew. He's like, "Are you sure this is gonna be?
Yeah.
Are you sure this is gonna be in 2015?"
Yeah. What was it? It was they promoted Star Fox.
Star Fox and Majora's Mask.
Was it Majora's Mask?
Yeah. So this was when Star Fox was basically announced, like, unofficially.
Yeah.
Because he was like, "Oh, by the way, how's Star Fox going?" to Miyamoto, and Miyamoto's like, "Star Fox? You want to talk about that now?"
Yeah. No, there was a thing.
Like, totally caught off guard.
There was a thing at the end of the video where they jokingly went like, "My game's coming out on this day," and the other one's like, "Well, my game's coming out before that," and then they were like,
Majora's
"Well,
Mask
my other game is coming before that." So it was essentially saying, Zelda Wii U should release by the end of this year, and then the other person's like, "Well, Star Fox is going to release before that," and then Aonuma was like, "Well, Majora's Mask is going to release before that," like trying to one up each other, and it ended up Zelda Wii U just never released, and even Star Fox was delayed so they could change the graphics. Everyone complained. So whenever Nintendo says they don't focus on graphics, Star Fox Zero was delayed just so they could work on the graphics, because everyone said it looked like the original Star Fox 64 just up-resed to be on the Wii U. So they like went in to make it like more detailed and stuff.
I think the biggest changes were like the shadowing and the lighting and stuff like that was way better in the final build of the game rather than like the ones that they first showed off. Because even just like changing the lighting can make the biggest difference in a game's visuals.
Like you can see that in Wind Waker and Wind Waker HD, where they added like tons and tons of bloom.
Oh yeah.
All right. So
the bloom is good.
Do you want to? Well, actually, we need to explain this, because it wasn't just delayed that time. There was the second time it was delayed. I believe this was the second time they revealed Twilight Princess HD.
Yeah.
And at the very end of it,
trailer 2016.
They had like 10 seconds of Zelda Wii U where he just like, is he on Epona and he rides?
Yeah, he was like going through the trees, right?
No, this
was like on a hilltop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes it pulls up on Epona and the camera just pans.
And this is the first time they reveal the Sheikah Slate as well.
Yes, that's true.
I made a video that actually got a lot of views. I thought it was the Book of Medora. Was that the name of it?
Yeah, it's hard to
really?
tell. Like from the footage, that is the name.
Yeah,
Yeah, from the footage, it's hard to see what it is though.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought it was a. So.
Yeah, it was like the book with the Sheikah symbol on it because it wasn't originally in Ocarina of Time. It was just this. It was the book from A Link to the Past, and then in Twilight Princess they reference it with the Ancient Sky book. But in Ocarina of Time 3D, which was made while they were working on I think it was made like towards the beginning of Breath of the Wild. Anyways, I thought it
was around Skyward Sword's. Ocarina of Time 3D was around Skyward Sword's development.
Oh yeah, that's right, because they had the posters for Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
So, the point what I was trying to make
I'm sorry.
in Ocarina of Time 3D, on the table in the house in Kakariko Village that people theorize is actually Impa's house, on the table is the Book of Medora, which is like the green book with the Sheikah symbol on it. So they added the book there when it wasn't even originally there. Like it wasn't even in the game, and they added it to the game. So then Nintendo always likes to hint towards what they're working on next. So whenever we seen Link with the Sheikah slate, I and a lot of people assumed, oh, this makes sense. They added it to Ocarina of Time to refresh everyone's memory, so now they're adding it to Breath of the Wild. This is maybe how he casts spells and stuff, because that's kind of what the book was used before. It was like a magical book and stuff that the Sheikah used. So, anyways, it got delayed that time. They didn't even announce it was delayed. They just had the release date, and it's like, well, that's not this year. Like that's next year. And then
they announced the first delay.
Yeah, and then the final delay was just a Twitter tweet from Al Numa that's like, "Hey guys, sorry, it's coming out 2000." Yeah, it's coming out 2017, and I think that time was because they were moving it to the Switch. So they also said that a huge part of the delay originally was after the trailer was shown off for Breath of the Wild, the very first one where it has Link jumping off Epona, shooting the Guardian. They said that the fan reception for the Guardian was so strong and positive that they ended up basing more of the game around it. So now, like, the Guardians are tied into the overall story of the game, whereas before, I think they were just supposed to be another common enemy, like the Lionel. But because there were so much like fan theories and speculation and positivity about the enemy, they ended up changing the story to be based around it. And then we ended up getting the Sheikah slate was the next thing, which is also tied into all of the Sheikah technology. So anyways, that's the story of the delay. Daniel, would you like to pick one of the three remaining?
The Zelda Ura.
Tell us about it.
So that's one we've covered in great length in some of our other, more Jesse's other videos. Although I think Holly voiced and I edited the ones about Zelda.
Oh yeah.
So what do you? We're back here. The gang's back together. But Zelda Ura was supposed to essentially be the expansion for Ocarina of Time back in the day, which was like almost the DLC of its day, really. Yeah. The Nintendo 64 disk drive, however, which was what you would play it on, was a commercial failure in Japan, so it never got released in North America. So they ended up not really following through with that.
Yeah. Even
though then they started Majora's Mask on the disk drive in development, and then they changed that too.
That's what I never understood. It's like the Ura expansion got canceled because the disk drive wasn't successful, but then they start a new Zelda game on the disk drive. So it's like maybe they thought like, we'll give it a year and maybe it'll sell better.
Yeah, but there was a lot of features in it that would have that essentially they said Master Quest was Ura Zelda, but there's so much stuff that was in or that was supposed to be in Ura Zelda that was not in Master Quest. That it's really not what they promised. Maybe it's what Ura ended up being, but it's not what they had pitched it to us as. So there was no new tunics, no new items, no new dungeons that were all supposed to be in Ura Zelda.
Yeah, there are interviews with Miyamoto where he says that the expansion would give you new dungeons, new side quests, new villages, new items, new weapons. Basically, like another half of the game would be added onto it. And then there were interviews where he says Master Quest is the Ura expansion, but in Master Quest, all you got was remixed dungeons. So there were no new villages, no new characters, items, none of that. So it's like...
That's like saying hero mode is the Ura of... but it's not really... it's not the Ura of Breath of the Wild. It's just the hard mode.
It's like if I promised you guys a book that I wrote, but then I just handed you a chapter from it. Yeah. It's like, it doesn't really... Yeah.
But there were some cool features, like apparently with Ura Zelda, if you, let's say, cut a sign or some bushes, the game would... It was on the disk drive, it was a rewritable disk. So it would stay cut for the entire game. Things like that. So going and smashing all those pots in that guy's house would have been a one-time deal. Or the guard's house. That would have been a one and done. You can't go back and forth through that door and just fill your wallet. Things like that. Which is kind of neat in premise. Yeah. And there was footprints in the sand, even details like that would stay. Things. So it was some neat.
And then in the, I was gonna say there's not even, because he said, I think in that interview he said something about, he used the example like if you're on the beach, and there is sand, your footprints while you're walking across the beach would stay in the sand instead of slowly fading away as you walked. And I was trying to think there's no beaches in Ocarina of Time.
Beach? What beach?
There's Lake Hylia, but it's grass all the way up until the water, and then it's rock.
I wonder if it would have been a new area.
Yeah, they would have
added.
Termina had a beach.
Termina has a beach, yeah.
Yeah, maybe they just moved it to Majora's Mask.
Awesome. There's a lot of things though where when they get cut out of one Zelda game, they've been very open about the fact that the dungeons we didn't use in this game, we ended up just using in another Zelda game.
Yeah.
We just don't worry, it exists. It's just not in this game. So it's not like we're really missing out per se. But it would have been cool to see maybe the beach that he mentioned was supposed to be an Ura thing, and then it ended up becoming Great Bay Coast. Majora's Mask. That would be neat.
All right. Well, our number 4 prank or lie from Nintendo, however you want to word it, the Nintendo Switch is not going to replace the Wii U. It will be a third pillar alongside the 3DS and the Wii U.
That would require the Wii U to be a pillar in the first place.
Yes.
Oh,
no, I love my Wii U. I still use it.
And what happens now? All of the good games that released on the Wii U are just being ported over to the Switch. A few months after... This is another lie that Nintendo made. A few months after the Switch released, or leading up to the Switch's release, there were rumors that they were ending production of the Wii U. And Nintendo said that they weren't doing that. But then just before... because they said something like they're going to continue to support the Wii U alongside the Nintendo Switch. They're not going to be ending production. That's just a rumor, blah, blah, blah. A few months later, they officially announced, hey, we're ending production of the Wii U so we can produce more Nintendo Switch consoles.
More Switches!
Yeah.
Miiverse will die!
Yeah, that was a big... I had friends that worked on the Miiverse community manager team. So it's now they just got pushed away to other Nintendo jobs. So yeah. It's hey, that reason that you get up every morning and come to work, we're just going to get rid of it.
That reason is dead!
Yeah, and they could have easily just brought it to the Switch. Miiverse was kind of cool.
I liked Miiverse, actually. Yeah. I liked doing stupid drawings on Miiverse, so...
Yeah. Let's see here. And then the games that were built into the 3DS. Like they had that RPG where you would take your Mii through things.
What was that called? There's like Stage and Smash from that.
Yeah.
In the 3DS version of Smash.
But it was really cool because it's like the 3DS had like a few random free games that were cool if you were just bored.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was basically Nintendo saying they would support the Nintendo Switch alongside the Wii U and 3DS, and then they just completely kill the Wii U. So, yeah. Like, if something else comes out in the future and Nintendo's like, no, we're going to support both of these.
Don't trust it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just don't even bother.
Yeah.
Because the same thing happened with our final thing on the list, which is, Daniel, do you want to take the Nintendo DS?
The Nintendo DS.
It's literally the exact same situation.
Thing. Yeah, the Nintendo DS
Fool
would
me
not
once.
replace the GBA. Yeah, so I think the reason that actually this happened, where they said, oh no, we're gonna still support Game Boy Advance. The Nintendo DS is a separate thing, don't worry, even though it totally was pretty much the next Game Boy.
Yeah.
Was that I don't think they knew how well the whole dual screen thing would go, like how successful the DS would be. So they wanted to still be able to fall back on this sort of Game Boy brand, if in case the DS was like the next Virtual Boy, which it wasn't, thankfully.
Yeah.
You know, they had their backup plan. So maybe that was the same thing with the Switch. You know, where they're like, well, if the Switch sucks worse than the Wii U, we can make the next Wii U, right?
The Wii U 2.
The Wii U 2.
The new
Wii U XL.
Yeah.
The gamepad is twice as big.
That's horrible. Yeah,
No.
this was basically the same thing with the Switch. As Daniel said, they were getting ready to release the DS, and they said, no, the DS isn't replacing the Game Boy Advance. They're both going to be supported alongside each other, but then it's like, if it's not replacing the Game Boy Advance, why does it play Game Boy Advance games?
Yeah, why is it that?
Why?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like, that doesn't make sense, Mr. Nintendo. It's like, it's literally the same as Sony saying, no, the PlayStation 4 is not replacing the PlayStation 3. We're going to support both. Which is kind of true. Like, the first year or two, whenever they release games, like Call of Duty releases to the old generation and the new generation for like a year or two. Yep. Assassin's Creed does the same thing.
Just
so,
Dance 2018 came out on the Wii.
Yeah. There was a new Wii game that came out this year.
Come on,
sold
guys.
Millions of people bought a new Nintendo Wii game for $60.
For some reason.
Yeah. Like, you can
yeah.
buy a Nintendo Wii for like $20, so
What?
maybe that's...
No, they're... Yeah. No, I always scope out the Facebook Marketplace because I buy so much stuff there, and it's absurd. And yeah, like, people's used Wii consoles, it's absurd, like, how they're practically giving them away. And just, like, stacks of Wii games.
Yeah, I
looked at it and I'm like, I don't want it.
I was buying something from a pawn shop, and they had Nintendo Wiis, like, an entire shelf full of Wiis for, like, $40. And just, like, on a whim, I said, if I buy this, can I get the Nintendo Wii for $20, which was like half of what they were selling it, and they were basically like, yes, just take it. Like, no one is buying the Wii.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
and it came with like the Wii Motion Plus controllers, which are like $40 to buy a new one on their own. So
Jeez.
The Wii
So,
Motion
like,
Plus is...
yeah, like if you want to play Skyward Sword, you have to have everything.
I know, because, okay, the year Skyward Sword came out, I got it for Christmas that year from my mother, who, bless her, she's wonderful. But she didn't know that it came, like, you needed the Wii Motion Plus, and I didn't have that at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, you
So
have to...
I couldn't play it for, like, I was, like, sitting there after Christmas until I was, like, could afford to buy a Wii Motion Plus, because I was, you know, a teen. I was, like, 18 at that time, so...
I was very fortunate. Skyward Sword was the first game that I got free. So I played Skyward, like I had it I had it like a week early. So And like I imagined I would just be playing the entire game like non-stop, but I played it for like 3 hours, and then I didn't play it for like 2 weeks. So it's like I had the game a week early, but I still didn't really play it for like a week after it was released. So
savage.
Wow, Jesse.
Yeah.
And here I was getting it for Christmas and then staring at it every day crying. Because I want to play the new Zelda.
No, it was, I think what it was just the loft wing part kind of pushed me away, and then I came back to it.
It was a lot.
Yeah, now it's
Honestly,
it's
like,
simple,
the beginning of that game is too long.
Yeah.
That's like my big
it
beef.
was a long game, beginning wise.
Yeah, once you get onto the surface, it's a lot of fun. But like getting to there, it's just it takes too long.
So the selfie that Holly took like 2 minutes ago was to promote. Nice.
Oh yeah, I took a
Where
selfie
is
and
it?
I posted it. It's on Twitter now. I just posted the link on my Snap and then my IG story and then my Twitter. So,
So
well,
really quickly, we can go through our top 5 OMG moments. Instead of going into a discussion like we did with the top 5 pranks or lies from Nintendo, we can just quickly go through it. If that's alright with you guys, and then we can end with a few questions.
Sure.
okay.
Alright. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as some of you all may know me, and here with me, as always, is Daniel, or King Bergerson.
Hello.
Yes.
wow.
And joining us once again is Holly Wolf.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Extended
Good
the
job.
L on that one, just to make Wolf.
Whoa.
Like a sheep. Yes. Now, we are here to discuss the top 5 oh my god moments in Zelda. Kind of a vague title, but these are our moments. We're each going to name off one, and then Daniel and Holly will have their second OMG moment. So I only get one. It's basically when you're playing a video game and something happens that makes your jaw drop, or you drop your controller, your mind gets blown. Whatever happens, this is those moments. So one that we're not going to use, because I'm going to use it as an example, so maybe you could take this as a top 6. An
honorable mention.
An Ocarina of Time, when you collect the 3 spiritual stones, you pull out the sword, the entire world changes. The Gorons are in prison, Lake Hylia is dried up, Kakiri Forest is overran by monsters, Hyrule Castletown is completely destroyed and has like re-dead zombies walking around. Everything is gone. Everything is changed. So yeah, like evil Luigi is taking over Lon Lon Ranch. It's
Yep.
it's pretty crazy. Like that's something that made me just be like, oh my god. Like even though I was really little, it still blew my head when I seen it, because everything about the game that you know completely changes. Not in the way that in A Link to the Past you go to the Dark World and everything's different. In this, like, it's the same world. It's just everything is like in pure chaos. Like everyone is basically living in Kakariko Village to kind of safeguard and protect themselves. So yeah, that was an example. But starting with you, Holly, what is your OMG moment? What in Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, whatever Zelda game, when it happened, just completely blew your mind?
Can I do a more so one that like not even really blew my mind, but probably like made me go like, oh my god, screaming, and I like threw my controller.
I think that's
Can
the
I do
point.
something like that?
of
Oh
the
my
video.
god! When I was playing Skyward Sword, and you know when you have to collect, are there the tears? I guess. In
The Silent
spirit-
Realm.
Silent
The
Realm.
Silent
Yeah,
Realm.
the Spirit Realm.
Oh.
The first time you got spotted or you ran out of time. I think I ran out of time. And in the first area, because I didn't get past the others for a really long time, the guy with the big sword
Mm-hmm.
It's just hanging out like under this area, like a gazebo type thing. Like, you know, changes its mood suddenly, and he rushes you and he kills you. I almost had like a heart attack. I freaked out so hard. I like threw my controller.
Did you know they chased you?
No. I was so scared. I was just like, I screamed and I was just like, oh my god! I threw the controller and I didn't play the game for like 6 months.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was like, nope, don't appreciate the scares in Zelda. This is not what I signed up for. I put the game down and I was like, I'm not playing that game. I was like so traumatized that I did not play Skyward Sword for a very long time. Because I was like, I'm not having this.
Anxiety pumping.
It was it was terrifying. I was like, this is not what happens in Zelda games. Because by that point, I've already played so many in the series. That stuff just doesn't happen. It was like so unexpected. Yeah. I was like, nope. I literally stopped playing the game.
Zelda games, the enemies in it that give you anxiety.
Yeah.
Because those ones, they're always called guardians, apparently. Because those they're referred to as guardians.
Okay.
So the Nintendo is like trying to change our view of the word guardian.
Yeah.
You're gonna read a school notice. Dear parent or guardian. And I'm just gonna be like, ah!
Run, child!
Go! You can't go to this school, there's guardians!
True. Oh, wow. Alright, well, there's one of mine, so, yeah.
Alright, and you, Daniel.
You took a good one. Both of you took the good ones. Okay. Not like a scared, like, like moment, but like a kind of a shocking moment.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I played Majora's Mask as a kid, and you get turned into a Deku Scrub. Like, it's like kind of one of the first things that happens in the game. But I was just like, what? like totally jaw dropped. Like, I was like, I did not expect that. It just totally caught me off guard. And like, you have to spend like 72 hours in the game going around trying to solve
even if you complete all of the tasks, you still have to wait until the final hours.
Yeah, and so that was like a very unexpected thing, because the only transformations really in Zelda that you've seen before was like Bunny Link in A Link to the Past, and then like growing up in Ocarina of Time. And so for that, it's like you just become very helpless. And like, especially for Ocarina of Time Link, like the Hero of Time, where you've gone through that adventure already, you start Majora's Mask out, and there's those moments where you're chasing him in the Lost Woods, and I'm like, okay, this is the same Link, and he's badass, and he's like, you know, doing flips and stuff, and he's super cool, and I'm gonna go kick this guy's butt, and then he just like, bam, you're a Deku Scrub, you can't hurt me, and I'm just like, what? What? Yeah, I don't know, just a good moment that I think I overlook when I'm playing through that game again. So yeah,
everyone in the comments are mentioning the Redeads. And that was probably in that game, definitely that was terrifying. Terrifying. The first time you leave Hyrule, Temple of Time, and and they get you. First time they get you, oh my gosh, no, I was
legitimately terrified of Redeads when I was a kid. I would make my older brother, like, I'd give him the controller and I would hide behind the couch.
I'm pretty sure I got my friends to play because I was like, I'm not having this. And then when you go down, where is it, in the graveyard? You go through the graveyard, and there's a few Redeads in there with like the green, it's a green, like,
it's like acid water.
Oh, same thing. I'm like, nope.
Just vaping underground.
Why is this here? What is? That stuff like freaked me out. I was pretty young too, so So Guardians and those Redeads were my scary. Oh my god,
so scary.
Another honorable mention, since we're talking about Redeads, is, and this is like a sad, happy, bittersweet moment, is the Redeads or the Gibdos that are like marching around in Icona.
Valley.
Yeah, Icona Valley, where
the music hawk.
Right? And then there's the scene whenever the cursed Gibdo guy and his daughter like reunite after you play the song of Storm, or the Song of Healing, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So that was a really nice moment that, like, it's not like an epic battle or something awesome happening. It's just seeing something that's so sweet that you're just like, yeah, like your mouth drops or your mind like melts from the happiness from it. But my answer, I guess, would be like, it's not a specific moment, but some of the cutscenes in Skyward Sword where it shows like it's revealing more of the story and not the ones where it's like you're him teasing Link or like licking his face, whatever, like none of that stuff. The ones where it's like Link and Zelda talking, like there's the battle between Impa and Girahim next to the Temple of Time, I think it is, or one of the dungeons that you come out of in Lanayru Desert. Yeah. So like there's that scene where like they're battling and like shooting energy waves or whatever it is. And it's like it was a really epic thing that I wasn't expecting, and I think that was the first moment that adult Jesse was super surprised from something in a Zelda game. But yeah, so going back to you, Holly, what is your final jaw-dropping moment?
I would say when Midna turned into her human form.
Oh. Yeah.
That got me pretty good. I was like, holy shit. Yeah, because she's just like this like weird little imp creature, and she's so annoying and sarcastic and stuff. And well, she's just sarcastic. You know what I mean? Like,
she's very sarcastic.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, very like, you know, yo, shut up, and so just not Navi like annoying, but different. Very like different. But yeah, when she turned into her like human form, basically, you're just like, shit, alright. Damn. What up,
it's
girl?
like, in a way, like, you don't expect it, but it still makes sense, because everyone who is, like, goes to the opposite realm, like, when you see the people in the Twilight Realm, they're not their normal selves, they're, like, these weird versions of themselves. All of the humans get turned into, like, the spirits or whatever, and Link gets turned into the wolf. So it would kind of makes sense for Midna, since she's an important character, for her to transform into like a weird beast looking creature as well. So she gets turned into the imp, and then whenever her like human form is revealed, you're like, hold on a minute, why was she not in the game the whole time?
Yeah.
She can't ride on Wolfland.
Yeah.
She's big. Yeah.
What were your thoughts on Midna, Daniel?
Oh, Midna's honestly, like, I love companion characters that have like a really good arc. Like Navi, sure, I have nostalgia, but there's no character arc for Navi.
None of
yeah.
course.
Tattle a little bit for like the first hour of the game, and then it's pretty flat. Like she hates you, then she likes you, and then that's it. Whereas Midna had like Midna and like Lineback, I think, are like two characters that have like really good character arcs. So Midna's sort of reveal at the end was like really good, but then like she like does a little tear flick where she's just like, "No, I cried," and flicks it, and the mirror like shatters, and that got me. I was like, well, okay, but why? No. I'm not one of those people that there's a lot of people who are like, the next Zelda game has to be Link hunting down the mirror shards, and I'm like, no, that's they're not doing that. But I don't know, that was a very emotional thing, because you spend the whole time playing the game and growing to like each other, and you know, you get quite attached to her by the end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's an emotional one. That should have been in our emotional moments video that we did this week.
All right, to end the video, what is your jaw-dropping OMG moment, Daniel?
This one, which I only remembered really about it recently because I've been playing through Wind Waker again. But when you finish the Tower of the Gods, you ring the bell at the top, and then you go down to Hyrule Castle, which is at the bottom of the ocean. And it's like a really neat moment, and you like have only heard about Hyrule being this ancient place that's like buried under the sea or whatever, that's like lost in this game specifically. But like being a Zelda player who's played Ocarina of Time, going in you see the Hero of Time statue, and there's all the portraits of the royal family, and the Master Sword with all the stained glass windows of the sages from Ocarina of Time. And it's just like, it's just one of those moments where it's just like, whoa, like this is, they're really linking these games together, because other Zelda games pretty much before that hadn't really been as, like, very deliberately connected. Whereas that one was like, wow, they're really like, this is the same Hyrule Castle, supposedly. Or so I don't know, that was for me a good one. I
always love whenever they do, like Breath of the Wild has all of the tiny little references, but I love when they have a reference to a past game that's like really in your face, like the statue from Wind Waker, or like the grave from Twilight Princess. Yeah. Where it's like a reference to the old Hero of Time. So like whenever they have those like in your face references, I love those. Alright. I think that brings us to an end. So we are ready to do the mailbag portion of the podcast before we end it. We have a few questions still on the list from previous mailbags that we never got around to answering. Holly, Daniel, if you go to the podcast schedule, you can see a few there. But there are also questions in the Discord group. If you go to the Hylian Gamescast chat, there are new questions there, or there are supposed to be. And the people in the chat, you can get your questions ready as well. Comment your questions. So the questions stand out from normal discussions. Put your questions in all caps so we can quickly find the questions and we don't have to scroll through.
Just yell them at us.
Yeah. All caps. All caps for questions. Alright, so you ready, Holly? You ready, Daniel?
Yeah.
Alright. I have to do another dreaded intro for this.
Don't dread it.
Yeah. Actually, Holly, we've never had a guest do the intro for the mailbag.
Why would I? Why? No, you're doing it.
Daniel, do you want to?
I guess.
Alright.
Y'all are so reluctant. Okay. Right. Dang it.
Get your podcast face on.
What's up, guys?
Hey, everybody.
Talk like McIntyre.
Oh, I must be heading out now, but thanks so much for watching. I don't know, I can't do the McIntyre. We need discount McIntyre here. Okay, I'm just gonna do this. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this mailbag video. I am Daniel, also called Bergerson. I'm here, as always, with Jesse.
Hi, everybody.
Game Over Jesse, as you may know him. And we are joined by Holly Wolf. Wolf? That's how you pronounce her name?
Oh, wow.
And this has been a great intro to our Zelda mailbag.
Yes.
My face hurts. Whew. All right.
Let's look at some questions, folks.
Yeah, so if someone, because sometimes we get so many questions, Daniel, we can't get to all of them. So if someone wanted their question to be featured on the show, I guarantee their question could be on the podcast. How could they do that?
Possible. Nothing is guaranteed. No. Unless you go to patreon.com and you support our friend Jesse here, and we will make sure that your question is answered and is often, but not always, the subject title of the video when it goes on YouTube. So,
yes,
that's fun. You should do that. We would love you, and we'll give you lots of shout-outs and love.
Alright, well, starting off, Holly, did you have a question picked out?
I had one from the schedule, which I thought was pretty hilarious.
Okay.
This was one of the YouTube questions, and it's the champion of Morrowind, which I believe was in the chat. Yeah. It goes, what if Link's parents in Skyward Sword were purposely pushed off Skyloft? due to the overpopulation issues.
All right.
I was like, whoa.
Now,
Push him off the edge.
this seems like a funny like throwaway question, but if you think about it, there are only so many houses in Skyloft for people
Build
to live.
more.
Like,
It's only so big.
like
But,
Beetle.
okay, there's a lot of empty
No, look
space
at
in
Beetle.
Skyloft.
Maybe Beetle, he lives on his own island. Maybe they forced him off the island, which is
he
why
came
like
back.
he never steps foot on Skyloft. He just flies around it, and then when he does land, he's on his own little island that he sleeps at. So it's like, yeah, maybe he was forced off the island, and he was like, "No, screw you guys, I'm getting in my pedal airplane, and
I'm gonna work my capitalist venture over
Yeah.
here."
yeah,
Jeez.
Yeah, but you know what? Build more houses.
build
Skyloft.
more houses."
Build more houses. You know, the islands are like connected by bridges. So if it's too small, like get a bunch of loft wings and like push another island to it, and then like build a bridge there. I don't know how this works.
All right. So,
Building island physics.
taking this question serious for a moment, where do you think, like, what do you think happened to Link's parents in Skyloft? Because some of the kids in Skyloft Academy or the Night Academy have parents, some don't. Like, there's specifically one of the side quests is trying to find one of the parents' missing child. So,
And then like Pipit's mom is like a terrible housekeeper.
yeah, you have to, like, go in there with a gust
Dude.
bellow, vacuum her house.
Dust everywhere somehow. Just
Yeah. So what do you guys think happened to Link's parents in Skyloft?
Well, I mean, yeah, being pushed off is, I guess, pretty logical.
purposely pushed off.
Yeah, it was one of
Yeah.
Grace's
So
pranks.
is this like Logan's Run, where when they become old enough, like if they become too old to like keep the population in check, it's like, oh, it's your 35th birthday, we're gonna go do the ceremony, and
No,
then just push them off.
are there old people
Lie.
aside from the teachers? Are there like really elderly people
I don't think
in
so.
Skyloft?
Not
I mean, it doesn't make sense that there would be. Might as well just push them off, you know?
Well,
They're
like
not contributing to their society. And
there's
Oh.
Zelda's
push them off.
there's Zelda's father. There's like the Owlin. No, what's his name?
Yeah.
The teacher.
No, it is Owlin, isn't it?
Okay.
And there's two. There's Owlin and Horwell.
Yeah, so
Isn't
there
it? Something
there
like
are
that.
the elderly teachers, but are there like actual elderly? What was that?
What was it?
I don't know. No, I don't think there are actual elderly people unless they have a purpose.
Yeah. Impa's
Alright.
the only old person.
Like they're of value.
All right, so theory confirmed. Link's parents pushed off
Yep,
Skyloft due to population issues.
Yeah.
All right,
Maybe
Daniel.
they were bums. Maybe they just
Yeah.
didn't. They just had nothing going for them. They were deadbeats. You
Yeah,
know.
or the little crazy cat mongoose thing killed them.
Oh, I mean that. Yeah, that thing was
At night.
terrifying.
Yeah. All right, Daniel, do you have a question?
I first have to acknowledge that we have a Patreon person asked the question in our Discord server today at 4:32, 5 minutes ago. There was Game Over Night of Ashelda. They asked, do you think Skyward Sword will get a remake on the Switch? And what's dislikes and likes? And I'm not going to actually answer this question because we already answered that question
Yeah,
in another video.
We have a
So-
couple of videos that are specifically talking about like if they did remake it like Twilight Princess, and they added a new amiibo, a new dungeon, all that fun stuff. Like what amiibo would it be? I seen Daniel on Twitter had a conversation with someone where he like there was a Fi or a Fi amiibo mentioned.
Oh, that was with Retro.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I saw
Whenever we-
that.
when we were on the video, I kept thinking of a Loftwing amiibo,
Dang.
but the Fi or Fi amiibo never even crossed my mind. What about you, Holly? Because I think it's obvious it's going to be coming to Switch. They're Tantalus, like the rumor is Tantalus, the people that made Twilight Princess HD, is making Skyward Sword HD. But with you, what, like, because in Twilight Princess HD they added the amiibo support, and Skyward Sword HD, if they have its own unique amiibo like the Wolf Link amiibo, what would you want it to be?
Bird.
The Loftwing?
Bird.
Bird.
Loftwing. Because it'd be so...
Not a Loftwing, just a normal bird.
Bird. No, because it'd be beautiful. Because, like the Guardian amiibo is, like, pretty dope. And, like, it's not... I like the bigger, slightly bigger ones.
Yeah.
You know, they're just nice things to have on your wall or shelves or whatever, too. So, I don't know. Bigger the better. Loftwing would be dope. Yeah, I see.
My Guardian amiibo back there.
Yeah, so it'd be cool.
Put up on Daruk's box there.
Lol. Yeah,
Stuff like
see?
that.
So it'd be cool to have a nice, hefty looking...
Totally jealous of your Zelda Nintendo display.
I have too many amiibo. I should get more.
Holly, let's go rob Daniel's Nintendo collection.
Let's do it. I'm down. I only have like 5.
Honestly, I was because I've been doing too much online shopping, and I bought a bunch of amiibo off eBay. And I'm like I'm looking at like the prices, how much people are actually paying for amiibos online, and I was thinking, I have some really good ones here. Like, if I sold all of these, I could make hundreds of dollars just off the sales. Like, I've got like the collectible gold and silver Mario ones. And
do you remember when Amiibo when the Amiibo first released? Maybe not when it was first released, but it was around the time Splatoon released. Yeah. There was a truck that was like from the distribution center to whatever store was selling them. There was a truck that was filled with all the Nintendo stuff, but mostly Amiibo, and it was stolen.
It got like stolen.
Yeah. Wow. Someone stole a truck full of Amiibo just so they could resell the Amiibo.
Damn, that's some balls right there.
Yeah. It's like Fast and Furious Amiibo edition.
Oh my goodness. We're gonna do one last job.
Send Vin Diesel to rescue the amiibo.
It's a serious matter.
Yeah. Alright,
so my question from the one, which kind of ties into a video that went up yesterday. He's also a Patreon supporter. He asks, if Ganondorf obtained Majora's Mask, who would control who? So
I was looking at that question.
The Skull Kid. Now remember, the Skull Kid, he was consumed by the power. The Majora's Mask was too powerful.
Yes.
So it turned him into his puppet. Like the Skull Kid went around and he was able to use some of the power, but towards the end it was the mask that was controlling Skull Kid. But Ganondorf, he has the Triforce of power already.
Ooh, true.
Maybe he has enough power himself to overpower the possession of Majora's Mask. And what makes it reminds me of, for the Dragon Ball Z fans. Holly, did you watch Dragon Ball Z?
Nope.
Daniel, Dragon Ball Z?
Sorry.
You know what I did, like, when it was like new?
Okay.
so it's been years. Like decades.
This reminds me of, in the last season of Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta, who was already kind of like the evil person, he went to this magician wizard creature that turned him evil, like took control of him and like brought out all of his evil power. But Vegeta was already so strong that even though he was possessed by the evil magic or whatever, he was still able to act on his own. So even though he was being controlled, he was still consciously making the decisions. And I think it would be the same on this. Like, Ganondorf is so powerful already that he wouldn't be taken control of. He would be able to properly use the power. So, what do you guys think about this? Like, if he did get the mask, would it control him? What would happen if he did possess it? Could he be stopped?
I think it's the same. Like, if he's already got the Triforce of Power, I think he would just be able to extract the power from the mask and just use it for his own ambitions. But I think if he had not yet obtained the Triforce of Power, he's still already a powerful sorcerer, but I don't think he is powerful enough for the mask, like to take control of the mask.
So the crazy thing, because it was the focus of the video that went up yesterday, so I had a lot of time to think about this. The Happy Mask Salesman, who has Majora's Mask, is located between the Temple of Time and Hyrule Castle. We see Ganondorf in Hyrule Castle, and then the next time we see him is in the Temple of Time. Aside from that, the cutscene where he's like chasing Zelda away from the castle or whatever. So it's like for him to go from the castle to the Temple of Time and then back from the Temple of Time to the castle to turn it into his castle, like he has to pass the mask shop 1,000 times to like go back and forth. And Majora's Mask is there the entire time.
Maybe though. I always figured that he hadn't found Majora's Mask yet. That the mask salesman found it after sort of that
it's
period
like
of time.
The mask salesman disappears during the adult portion of the game.
Yeah.
So it's like he could have became one of the re-dead that's wandering around. He could have just run away. Like, oh crap, Ganondorf taking over.
Or he could have gone to Termina and had the events of Majora's Mask unfold, but because Link wasn't there, the moon crashed and he died in Termina.
Right.
Lol.
Could have happened.
I think Majora as an entity and this crazy dark like force of evil, I think is in the realm of everything Zelda, I think is the most powerful. Right? Just looking at the game and how just dark it is and everything's sad and being able to bring a moon down on an entire world is pretty intense. So I think Ganondorf would have a really good time fighting it, but I feel like they'd work together well and be like, yeah, let's kill everything. But then I feel like Majora is sneaky and crazy, right? Just psycho. And I feel like it would just try to, like, eat away at Ganondorf as a person. So it would last longer on Ganondorf, like, he'd be able to fight it or whatever. Or maybe he wouldn't think he's taking advantage of, but I think Majora's Mask as, like, an entity is so dark and evil. And that's the other thing, we don't know everything about Majora's Mask. We pretty much know everything about Ganon. Like, he's just bent on destroying everything and ruling everything, basically. He just wants to be a king, and he wants to be justified and like, oh, I am the coolest person, you must all bow down to me. As opposed to Majora, it's just literally pure evil.
Yeah, it's like Ganondorf wants to roll over everything.
Yeah.
And Majora just wants to destroy everything.
Yeah, so I still feel like Majora, maybe they do well together for a bit, but I feel like Majora would still have the upper hand and just slowly corrupt Ganondorf's mind to a point where he can't function anymore. That's how I feel like it would possibly go down. And it's like Ganondorf thinks he's doing good, and he's like, haha, I'm good, we're fine, you can't overtake me. But I feel like it would be like a slow, just, I don't know.
Chipping away, slowly.
Exactly, at his mind. Because that's the thing, Majora basically makes people go insane. You see the Happy Mask Salesman, the way he's just, he's psycho because he's lost it, and he turns into this schizophrenic mess. So I feel like that would probably happen to Ganondorf. So
how would he be able to be stopped?
I don't know. I don't know. If Majora manages to take full control over Ganondorf and uses the power, Triforce of Power. No, that's a lot. That's a lot of evil right there for Link to go up against.
Yeah, Ganondorf had the entire, he was beat by Link, had the entire burning castle fall down on top of him, and still, turned into Ganon, which Link had to kill again, and then, whenever Ganon was super weak, it took Zelda and the sages and Link to kind of stop
Not
Ganon.
Even kill him.
Yeah, to seal him away.
Yeah.
So
Which didn't even last because he broke out on his own.
Yeah.
In Wind Waker.
So if he had the power of Majora's Mask on top of that, which in Majora's Mask it takes like the four giants and fierce deity and everything to kind of stop the Skull Kid and Majora's plans. So yeah, like I think it would be a situation kind of like the Skull Kid or like Ganondorf and Zant in Twilight Princess, to where you think it's Zant, but then it turns out to be Ganondorf is like the evil person behind everything. So in this, like, Ganondorf's doing all this stuff, you think he's using the power of the mask, but then at the very end, like, after you kill him or stop him, if this was a game, like, Ganondorf, like, disappears or whatever, but then Majora would come out and be like, I was controlling him the whole time. So it's like, Zelda and Link stop Ganondorf, and they're, like, doing whatever they do to celebrate, and as they're walking away, like, you start hearing stuff, and it's like the weird tentacles from Majora's Mask, like, coming out. So, like, that's how I would imagine the best way to do it would be.
I think that's the only way that they would be able to stop them is to, like, separate them first.
Yeah.
Like, you have to get it away from Ganondorf. Take the mask away first. I think you could do, like, because obviously you can defeat them separately, so find a way to do that first, and then checkmate. But
like in the comments here, Nintendo World is saying like, oh, Skull Kid is possessed because he's a child, and MM's more powerful. But you know, if the mask was truly evil, it could have killed everyone very easily. But that's the thing; it is truly evil, but it needs a body.
Yeah.
And then that's what makes it so powerful.
Yeah.
Right. It's on its own. It's fine. But as soon as someone comes near it, that's when, you know, everything goes
like
to
Majora's Mask. Like, I think he's making the point. Like, Majora's Mask could have destroyed all of Termina instantly.
Yeah.
But it didn't, because the Skull Kid was the child or whatever, and
it has a more powerful host like Ganondorf. Oh my goodness, it could do so much more because he is like a reincarnation of Demise, right? So it's
what it was is Majora in Majora's Mask didn't just want to destroy everything. He wanted to torture everyone. So everyone had the thought of impending doom. Like, when it gets to the final day, like, everyone's either gone or you talk to them and they're worried about the moon getting closer and closer. Like, you talk to the town mayor and they're all freaking out about it. So it's like, he doesn't just want to kill everyone. He wants to kill them, but before they actually die, he wants to torture them emotionally and everything.
You're like, you're all gonna die.
No, he's savoring it. It's always how I, like, sort of interpreted it. Like, he's an agent of chaos, really. So I don't think he has one deliberate goal of like, hey, well, we're gonna kill everyone today. You know, he's just wreaking as much havoc as possible without maybe like one set intention. Just doing whatever he can to disrupt the peace. And like kind of a cat that catches like its prey. Like, they'll, you know, if anyone here has a cat owner, they will play with the mouse before they eat it. You know, they could just
Lion King,
they could just gulp it up right away, but no, they're gonna play with their catch first, and so that's kind of how I figured it was. He was just messing around, trying to cause as much pain as he can before he brings the moon down.
So if he had a more powerful host, he could. He would still he would just torture. It would probably just be on a much more intense level. Skull Kid is weak.
And Ganondorf.
That's why he got a hold of him, but, you know, he can only do so much with Skull Kid. The real power of Majora was at the end, when he was, like, Crazy Tentacle Man and stuff, right? Those forms. So,
Crazy Tentacle Man.
Does the chicken dance.
Alright, so we will do 3 more questions, and then we will end it. So we all answer 2 questions together. Holly, do you have a question picked out? Either
I don't know.
I asked them in the chat to please post your questions.
I know, it's hard to like relook up. So, we've been talking about. I already asked my question. Yes, Nintendo World, but listen, we're having a deep conversation about. That was a good one. Everyone was like pitching in on that.
That is good.
Oh, what do you? Oh, Mark Ruffalo asks in the YouTube chat, what do you think about a time travel mechanic coming back to a Zelda game? Yeah, because I guess we haven't had one since Majora's Mask.
Yeah,
Well,
it has to be a mechanic and not a plot point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, it was just like a plot point. Like, okay, now you're gonna go through the Gate of Time, and there you are. You're in the past now. It's time travel.
Most Zelda games played around with time travel, but it was never really the focus. Like Skyward Sword had the time shift stones, and then towards the end of the game, they had the actual Gate of Time, where like you had to travel back and forth like 100 years or something like that. Breath of the Wild had the memories, where you could see the difference between the past and the present. Twilight Princess had the part where you go into the Temple of Time and it's all fixed and it's no longer destroyed. Daniel corrected me that Wind Waker, I assumed when you were in like where everything's black and white, I always thought that was in the past, but it wasn't.
No, because it's just
frozen.
Frozen in time.
Yeah, but Majora's Mask was the last 3D game. I don't know if you would count like Oracle of Ages and Seasons, where like you're not really traveling through time, you're traveling through like the weather, basically. Like, oh, now it's
pretty much.
Now it's snow. No, it's spring. It's winter. It's summer. Whatever. But yeah, Majora's Mask was the last one that like the main focus was time traveling, and I really hope they do bring it back, because I've said a lot of times like it's really interesting because you always get a second version of a world when you're playing a Zelda game. Like A Link to the Past had Hyrule and then the Dark World. Ocarina of Time had the past and the present, or the future and the present. Majora's Mask, you were constantly traveling back and forth. Twilight Princess had the Twilight Realm and the normal Hyrule. Skyward Sword had the Silent Realm and Hyrule. So like almost every Zelda game, there's obviously Lorule and A Link to the Past, but most of the Zelda games have Hyrule or whatever world they're in, and then a second version of that, whether it's the Twilight Realm, the Dark World, Lorule,
except Breath of the Wild, really.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild, which
too much world already.
I thought
we have so much world, we don't need more world.
See, I thought the perfect DLC for Breath of the Wild, when everyone was theorizing what it would be, is when it ends with Zelda and Link standing on the hill talking like, oh, we need to go check on Mipha's dad and like Valruta or whatever. Like Valruta's messing up, we need to go check on it, everything looks peaceful. I thought it would be cool if like it continues after that cutscene for the DLC and it like looks up at the sky and Zelda and Link look up and the clouds and everything starts turning like really purple. So it's like they're being sucked into the Dark World, basically. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be... Yeah, and then it would, like, Hyrule...
Zelda would be like, are you kidding me? She just like, spent like 100 years in this castle. She'd be like, no.
Yeah.
We're not doing this. No.
Yeah. So
like, I'm sorry, Link, but you're on your own. She like runs away or something.
It's like I'm leaving. I'm going to Termina. Call me.
Yeah.
Call me when this is over. Yeah. So, the time travel thing, I'm all for it. I hope they bring it back. Whether it is like an active part of the game where you're constantly traveling back and forth, like in Majora's Mask, or if it's something like Ocarina of Time, to where you can do it, but it's not really necessary but a few times. Right. Like, you can play through the game and only travel back and forth, like, 2 or 3 times, and that's to do the Shadow Temple and then the Spirit Temple. That's, like, the only times that it's really necessary, but you can do it freely at any point. So I hope it's something like that, or Majora's Mask. Like, I would love them, because Majora's Mask was originally a full 7 days, as opposed to the 3 days.
Yeah.
So if they revisited that, to where it's like Breath of the Wild 2, but with the like a 7-day schedule to where it's like, here's on Monday you can meet this Goron is always at Zora's Domain at this time on Monday. And then on Tuesday you can see him walking back to Death Mountain. And then Wednesday you can see him like working, trying to get rid of the rocks. Like everyone has a schedule like Majora's Mask, but it's over 7 days. I would love that. And then you're constantly like having to go back and forth to figure out stuff. Like some of the side quests in Majora's Mask where like if you do one side quest and finish it, you can't do another because they either happen at the same time or one stops the other from happening. Like you can't the Sun's Mask and like the whole Cafe and Angie side quest.
Yeah.
You can't complete it in one go. Like it has to be done through time travel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So long answer. I apologize, but what are you guys' thoughts? Time travel?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It's like very fundamental to Zelda. So I think it'd be really, really cool to have a new game, like say in the Breath of the Wild style, or just something massive, and just open world. Basically, like, you know, if you could time travel between Breath of the Wild 100 years before and then your current, that'd be like so dope, right?
Yeah.
So I'd be down for a very large scale game with time traveling in it. So.
All right. And what about you, Daniel? What kind of time travel would you like to see?
Pretty much what you guys said. Yeah, as long as it's not like I said, as long as it's a real useful in-game mechanic that you can freely use and not just like a plot point where you go back for one portion and then you're back to the present. Majora's Mask has the best time travel in the series, hands down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if they did it like Ocarina of Time, but maybe like with the 100-year gap of Breath of the Wild, something like that, God, that would be still brilliant. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you see how much changes between 7 years and Ocarina of Time. So imagine the difference in 100 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it would be really cool too because like one thing in Breath of the Wild that always gets me is in the memories. It's 100 years before, but the trees are the same.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in 100 years, those trees would be so much bigger. They would, like, you know, something like that. So I'd love it if, you know, you
there was
travel
actually
back in time and there's like the trees are smaller and everything, or just different trees and.
No, there was.
Yeah, certain trees are being planted, and then like you go back like later. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, like you could see an open field in the past, but in the future it's like a forest.
Yeah, an in-depth like real-world time travel.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty crazy.
And there's what Daniel was saying. There was actually something that confused me because when you're looking for the memories by the pictures, there's one where it's like a little tree and a big tree. And I was thinking, okay, these were taken 100 years ago. So these two small trees I'm looking for are going to be huge, massive trees by now. So I was looking for these giant two trees that were beside each other, couldn't find them. And then I seen like the two small trees beside each other and was like, for a game...
Your brain's like, wait a minute.
Like, for a game that the entire purpose is like what happens 100 years between... Like, there's not much going on there in terms of, like, keeping it realistic. But I guess it's not really trying to go for realistic.
No.
So, we will end, Daniel, with your question.
Okay.
So, my question, RPG, who is very active in the Discord. I don't know if he's in the live chat right now. But he asked a few days ago, do you think another Zelda will be released on the Nintendo 3DS before its end? Now, think about this. For the 3DS, there is already Ocarina of Time 3D, A Link Between Worlds, Majora's Mask 3D, Triforce Heroes, Hyrule Warriors Legends. So there are 5 Zelda games if you include spin-offs. That's more Zelda games than any other Nintendo console ever. And you can play the DS games on the 3DS as well, plus all of the games that have released on the eShop. So, there's like tons and tons of Zelda games you can already play on the 3DS. So it would make sense for them to just add another Zelda game to the 3DS. Like it wouldn't matter much, but I imagine it would go to the Switch. I don't think they would release it on the 3DS at this point, but I would have thought the same about the Metroid Samus Returns. Like, they released it on the 3DS when I was like, why not release it on the Switch where people actually want to play it?
Yeah,
so,
I don't think they will. There's been a lot, so...
No Zelda for 3DS?
I don't think so.
No. What about you,
No.
Daniel?
It would have to be... I can't see it on 3DS. It would be Switch. If they did a 3DS one, I think it would be just another remake or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or they
Which I would still want
or
on
a link
the
to the, or like a Link Between Worlds style for Link's Awakening or Oracle games.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
And
okay.
I imagine that was one of the rumors a while back that we talked about, was that Link's Awakening was supposed to get and a Link Between Worlds treatment. But one of I think if it did come to the 3DS, then 3 or 4 months later you would see it also come to the Nintendo Switch. Like, you're already seeing a lot of games from the Wii U and the 3DS come to the Nintendo Switch. So I think it's obvious that if they did release a big 3DS game, it would eventually find its way on the Switch anyways. Similar to Hyrule Warriors, Legends came to the Wii U and 3DS, and then Fire Emblem Warriors, whatever I forgot the actual title, but it released on the same day for the 3DS and the Nintendo Switch. Oh, there's a doggy.
Yes.
Where?
Yeah. So yeah, there are games that have released side by side on the 3DS and then came to the Wii U or came to the Switch, and I think it would be something similar to Smash Brothers, where everyone wants it for the home console. So everyone would want it for the Wii U, like with Smash Brothers. And they know if they release it day and day on the 3DS and the Wii U, everyone's just going to buy the Wii U version.
Naturally.
So what I think they would do, and this is probably what they did with the Metroid game as well, they release it on the 3DS to get those people to buy it. And then everyone's just going to rebuy it anyway so they can play it in HD on the better console on the Switch. So it's I fully expect at E3 they'll be like, Metroid Prime 4 is releasing at the end of the year, or mid 2019. But you don't have to wait until then, because in 1 month Metroid 2 releases on the Switch. So it's like a port of the 3DS game. And I would expect if they did release a 3DS Zelda game, the same thing would happen for the Switch. Again, I'm rambling. I apologize.
When you say Metroid 2, do you mean Samus Returns?
Yeah, that was the second Metroid game, was it?
Oh yeah, it was a remake of Metroid 2, but I would.
No,
not like that.
Not Metroid Prime 2. Were you thinking Metroid Prime 2 when I said Metroid 2?
No, I just wasn't sure if you meant the Game Boy or the 3DS Metroid Prime or Metroid 2. Sorry, but yeah, that makes sense. But I would like that
because
I really like that game.
Yeah, it already looks really good on the 3DS. So seeing what the Switch could do with it, very yeah. So Daniel, you're taking us out.
Okay, there's a good question by Just Ux. I think this is on Discord. Do you think Twilight Princess and A Link to the Past exist at the same time, but because they're on basically separate timelines, they occur separately, but due to the different realities and parallels centered around Ganondorf's plans in the backstories of both games, basically?
Yeah. So they would both take place at the same time, but on different timelines.
Yeah.
So in both cases, it would be 200 years or 300 years after. Yeah. I always assumed the same for Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. I thought they happened at the exact same time, just on different splits of the timeline. I'll save my answer for this for the end. But what do you think, Holly? Do you think they take place at the same time, but just
I don't
separated
know,
by the
man.
timeline. You
I don't know.
you get into the timeline stuff, and people
Right? It's pretty intense stuff right there.
Yeah.
Anything timeline is like trigger.
Oh no.
Like, yeah. So I don't know. I mean,
Well,
it'd be cool.
Breath of the Wild is obviously a prequel to Skyward Sword.
No,
That's what people are saying. Or no, it's either a prequel to Skyward Sword or a prequel to The Wind Waker, or a sequel to The Wind Waker.
I saw this post on Twitter, which I retweeted because I really liked it, and it was a comparison of like the Spring of Power and one of the springs in Skyward Sword, and basically they're identical. They look like the same, and except in Breath of the Wild, the one there is like much more deteriorated and aged. And one of the comments on this, the person tweeting was basically like, I love the attention to detail in this. Like, this is clearly the same place, but at different times. And like, I love that Nintendo put this in, like, almost an Easter egg. And someone commented on that, or, tweeted back and was like, wow, this is really cool. Breath of the Wild must take place after Skyward Sword. And I just thought, yeah, like, did you not know it yet?
Wow, this is really cool.
Did you just figure that out now, buddy? So
that's really funny.
Yes. As far as the Link to the Past that the question we're answering goes, my immediate thought would be, yeah, they're basically the same time, after like a few hundred years after Ocarina of Time. But in A Link to the Past, there's some dialogue boxes that you can find where they mention basically like the Hylian bloodline is kind of dying out in that timeline. So there aren't many people who are like pure Hylian anymore. Link being one of them. He's like a descendant of these Knights of Hyrule. Zelda obviously is. In Twilight Princess, everyone seems to be Hylian. Like just everyone in all the NPCs. And there's not really mention of that. So my thought would be, knowing that detail, that A Link to the Past probably takes place a little later.
Do you think a lot of people think Ordon Village isn't necessarily a part of Hyrule, like it's its own area? So like the Ordonians would not be Hylian.
Right. Well, they wouldn't be Hyrulean. Because Hyrulean would be like anyone that lives
nationality, but not race.
Yeah.
So do you think like where Link in Twilight Princess apparently born in Ordon Village, do you think he would be part Ordon or part or full Hylian? But would he be part Ordonian is the thing, because he's living there.
It's true. See, I always thought the people, they live outside of the boundaries of like Hyrule proper, because the guy Russell, that's his name, mentions like, oh, you've never been to Hyrule before, to Link. But I don't know, I always just assumed that the people were like Hylians still,
but that saying like you've never been to Hyrule before, that could be like when someone lives, like they technically live in LA or New York City,
right?
And they say
still American,
and they say no. Well, what I was gonna say is like when someone like lives out in the suburbs or like 5 minutes away from the city, they're still technically living in the city boundaries, but they're saying, "Hey, I'm going into the city," meaning they're going to like downtown. So it could be something like that.
To like Castletown, like,
to where like you've never been to Hyrule proper. So.
Yeah, or like I always say, I live in Vancouver, but technically I live in New Westminster, which is still part of the same Greater Vancouver area.
Yeah.
But it's actually a separate municipality.
How many Canadians do we have in the chat right now?
Ooh, how many Canadians? Raise your hand.
Give us that Canadian pride that always gets retweets and stuff on Twitter. There was someone came to the Discord group and said that they feel more comfortable talking to people because they were Canadian and they found out other Canadians were in the thing.
What?
And I'm like, are you afraid of Like the Americans or the Europeans?
No. I think America is just, a little rough right now. So
there's some current events that
don't get me started on how I feel about America. You don't even want to know.
No offense, Jesse.
But with the original question, with the original question, I believe, I used to think that Wind Waker and Wind Waker and Twilight Princess happened around the same time, but then, like, A Link to the Past happened like a few hundred years later.
Yeah, that's what I'm settling on too. It's a little bit after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe A Link to the Past happens around the same time as like Four Swords Adventures.
Yeah. Which is like 100 or a couple hundred years after Twilight Princess.
Yeah. So I think that's where they would go on the timeline, which means, because I thought when Breath of the Wild was just, like, before it came out and people knew, I thought it was going to take place between Ocarina of Time and A Link to the Past, and that would line up with Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, because
I did too.
Ocarina of Time, each timeline had a 3D Zelda game happening directly after the split, so there was Twilight Princess and the child timeline, Wind Waker and the adult timeline, and I thought Breath of the Wild would be the Downfall timeline counterpart to just make it even across the thing. But I was wrong. Nope.
Yes. Dragon Break!
Yeah. Alright, so I think that brings us to the very end of the podcast. Holly, who the hell are you?
Oh, I don't know.
Alice Holly Wolf.
My name is Holly Wolf. Holly Wolf. I cosplay and I model and I play lots of video games and got a YouTube channel and a Twitch channel and stuff.
What could people find on your YouTube and Twitch?
Lots of behind the scenes on my photo shoot stuff, lots of modeling things, makeup, beauty, and video game stuff. So it's just an accumulation of my life, basically. It's not like oh yes, I'm also a verified fake gamer girl.
How long have you been a fake gamer girl?
My whole life.
We actually have an interview with you that did fairly well, titled Fake Gamer Girl.
Fake Gamer Girl. Yes. So, so lots of cosplay. I've been doing lots of Zelda cosplay recently. Actually, we're shooting my Breath of the Wild Guardian armor extremely soon. Finally, it's a little warmer here. And we're also shooting my Twilight Princess Zelda. So both within the next 2 weeks, so that will be really fun. And I'm taking a break from Zelda, and I'm going to be working on a lot of Fate cosplays for the summer. So. And
are you going to be at any conventions coming up that people could find and buy some merch and stuff from you?
I'm gonna be at Anime Expo in LA. I'm going to be at E3 in LA. Those both take place in like June and July. Before that, it's mostly modeling trips. I got one in Miami soon. I've got one in Punta Cana, and but summertime, more conventions, and then I think I might go to Gamescom this year in Germany in August. I'm thinking about that. So Germany and that surrounding area. And lots of E3. E3 is like my...
Yes. RPG in the chat, whose question I read earlier says, follow Holly on Twitter at HollyTWolf. Yeah. And check her YouTube here at youtube.com/blah blah blah. Yeah. It's Holly.
Most of my socials are Holly T.
Wolf. And the YouTube is as well. Holly T. Wolf?
Holly Wolf.
Holly Wolf TV?
Yeah.
Okay. And Daniel, where can we see you modeling at?
We'll be modeling. It's a private show.
Oh!
On the guest list. Pretty short guest list, though. Just have to find my house.
Yes.
Knock on my door. I'll ask you for the password.
Are you a titty streamer?
Yes.
I get called that a lot. But you're a real one.
I'm a real verified titty streamer. I'm also a fake gamer girl.
Oh, okay.
So we're pretty much the twins.
Yeah.
So. But you
Losing
can.
Limo in the YouTube chat says, plug some Daniel at me.
Plug some Daniel
Oh.
at
Yeah.
me.
So where can
Daniel
people find
show.
you, Daniel?
Oh, alright. So you can follow me on Twitter. at
RPG says
Burgers.
I'm not plugging Daniel's anything.
Damn it, RPG! You were doing so well. Follow me on Twitter at CaptBurgerson. Same for Instagram. And those where I post all my things. You can check out my website, Burgerson Media, or maybe if you want to misread it, it's Burgers on Media. Sure.
Ah, there you go.
Yes,
there you go.
he reviews cheeseburgers.
I
No, that's
Yes,
that's the joke.
I don't. But yeah, all the projects I work on, videos I edit, other things I tinker around with on my own spare time get posted there. And I have a YouTube channel that you should check out that I haven't posted on in probably a year.
Oh,
Called
wow.
NSHG Films, and like Nancy S, like so what if you have a YouTube channel, H like Hollywood, and G like good God, stop talking now, Daniel. Films like films.
Lol.
Go check it out. Yes.
Yes, everybody who is watching, as RPG says in the chat, if you can click the notification bell to get notified on videos, because I notice it takes a few days before videos take off. Like, it'll notify like 1,000 people instead of the 60,000 subscribers that I have. And
YouTube's
then
having a rough year. YouTube's having a rough year.
And then after like a week or two, like 2 weeks after a video starts to take off, someone will comment and be like, I've been subscribed to you, but this is the first video I've seen in weeks. And I'm like, what's the point of having 60,000 subscribers if only a few thousand actually get the notification?
Yeah, so click
That's
the
so
bell.
sad.
Yeah.
Click the bell.
Yes.
Click the bell.
All right. Go follow Holly at Holly T Wolf. Go follow Daniel at Capt Bergerson, and you can follow myself at Game Over Jesse. Everyone's Twitter handle on the edited video should be up in everyone's corner. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Holly, and thank you all for watching.
Thank you, Jesse. Woo.